So how far the education would go, the Saturn tends to limit it, perhaps, how far one went in education, but the whole chart is looking for more information, more information, more information. And so this person will be studying all their life, but maybe not always in a university. But the writing, the teaching, the workshops, even with writing, the imagination is there, but there's a tendency to be too serious, a little bit too formal. It's such a big deal to write a book. It's like it's almost can be too serious. I can't do that much. I better do something smaller. But really, the idea of writing a book and communicating would be a very useful thing for her. And she might just have to write one page a day until it's done without trying to write the whole book, just write her stories. But her ability to see how people get in problems, how people have difficulties, and how to try and fix the difficulties, her mind is geared to that. That's a great counseling quality. Okay. Yeah, okay, so that's Mercury. So we've got another sort of idea added in here. Now we're going to look at Venus. And Venus is in Capricorn in the 4th house. And it has a trine to Saturn, but it's square to Pluto. So we've got these factors to go through. It's not making significant aspects to the sun or moon. It's a different frequency. So my sense of self-worth, my appreciation of what I want, it's in Capricorn. It's restricted, it's restrained, it's serious, it's inhibited. I don't feel I'm good enough. I don't feel I'm appreciated enough. I'm not liked. I'm going to have to work really hard to get the money I need. I'm going to work really hard to be appreciated. So there's an inhibition there, but because there's an inhibition there, there's naturally an ambition there to overcome the inhibition. So there's first a caution, this Capricornian caution. That's nighttime is greater, daylight's increasing, but just a little. I want to do something, but there's all these things I have to take care of. How will I ever pay for this to be able to get things myself? You know, like you have that sort of idea, but then it's still, it's a masculine sign. It's feminine, excuse me, feminine sign. It's reflective. It's cardinal. I'm reserved. I have to fix this. It's earth, practical. I can have enough money. I got to do this. I might have to take the job, and then I have this job, okay, but I'm studying astrology. I'm doing some other things on the side. I have my other career, or build it up till it can become the main thing. But the being appreciated, there's a tendency to feel defensive and not good enough, not appreciated enough, and then I have to work on it. I have to be better at this. I have to be better at this. So in some ways, that's a really nice quality. In social ways, it can be a very disassociative quality. So with all of her chart wanting to belong and wanting to be part of things, so many things pointing that way, there's a part of her can feel alone in a crowd. She could be talking to everybody, but then how many people are listening? How many people are just going to be very sensitive to being appreciated? Any little bit of appreciation will have a very profound effect on her. Why? Because it's in the 4th house, where everything that she takes in on the setting side comes in, and eventually is resolved as, is this good or bad? Did I like this or do I like this? Was I appreciated or not? And as that comes in, it goes down to affect her motivation. Then she gets, and that motivation gets up, and her motivation is Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. So she'll go through it and see how to understand and how to reach out with that. Nothing's static, everything's moving. So you have the somewhat practical, materialistic, earthy Venus in Capricorn, but there's an ability to listen or to measure that's there. So a lot of musicians would have that too, this restraint. I don't have to have too much abundance, I just want to have a certain amount of respect. So imagine if I wrote a book and people respected my book. Whoa, that's solid confidence. But I have to know enough first. Okay, so you see the puzzle. The mind's got the puzzle, but the emotions, I can't just stay where I am. I got to fix this. And that it's in the 4th house, that's the setting point. So where she belongs, where she fits in, it implies in growing up. See, the Venus is ruled by the Saturn in the 12th house. So there's difficulty that what the parents would have expected, or wanted her for her home, or wanted her to stay at home, or want to do things, would be a little restrictive. And she'd have to work hard to try and get beyond the roots. Or if she sits there waiting for appreciation for family, she may never be able to get out to do things herself. Certainly, you see the struggle around the understanding, difficulty thinking for oneself with the Saturn to Mercury. And here again, this measurement. Can I do it? How can I do it? So this is the caution of, but like I said, the Venus there, it's a motivating factor. So for every time there's any inhibition, there's going to be a motivation to change it, or to fix it, or to not accept it, or to grow beyond it, or move to the future away from that past. So this comes down to the need for a home, the need to have kids, to be at home, to be the mother, to be at home. And the Venus there in Capricorn is, I want that, but not too soon. I don't want to have to wonking. I don't be overly restrained around this. There's a practical thinking around it. But at the same time, she doesn't want to not have the money or not have the security either. This is another security house. So, I mean, this is a great quality for listening to music, hearing. There's the inhibition of hearing it, and there's the elation of hearing it elegantly and being able to hear more better than other people around things. And then but again, her expression goes out more mentally than emotionally. So the Venus trine the Saturn usually makes a person somewhat wanting to be somewhat loyal or responsible to dad or to father, to just be responsible. In a relationship, they're not inclined to be frivolous. They're more or less trying to be responsible and hold in and do their part in it. But the Venus squared Pluto is an extreme aspect. The Pluto squaring the Venus does draw our attention to this. So we see what she needs. We see the need for appreciation, for getting respect and being liked. And even a little bit would be fine, but being ignored or being put down would be really more negative and have a more negative effect that she would take personally. But the Pluto square the Venus means when she was born, there was a lot of fear around money. Her parents were not happy. There was a harshness there, and she was a girl. So there's a part of not feeling wanted or not feeling loved. And the Pluto Venus, it makes one do everything to appreciate, to inspire, to talk to other people, and everyone would know her and find her interesting. But it would be very difficult to surrender and follow. Like there's a fear, there's a capacity to do music, there's a fear of singing. There's a fear of trusting, of feeling this is nice, or being content, because as soon as I'm content, somebody's going to attack it. There's a fear of being content or being satisfied. There's a fear of not being good enough. There's also a tremendous need to be good enough, but there's a self-imposed fear as one goes up. It's not good enough. I'm not good enough. I got to do more. So there's a tendency to think I'm not getting enough. I'm not going to get enough. I don't deserve enough, but I got to do more. I got to think about this. I got to communicate. I got to express myself. So it's funny for someone who wants to belong so much to have this feeling of I'll support you, I'll talk about you, I'll communicate, but I'll tend to, if I'm not getting attention, I'll still tend to put up with it. So this implies a harshness around emotions from day one when it came into life. And there's a need to learn to be a little creative or emotionally creative in life. So this learn to express us, to overcome the fears or the blocks. So there's nothing like art or singing or playing music to get past fears of emotional fears. To not be good enough to be able to sing, you can't half sing. So there's, I mean, the Venus in Capricorn is interesting because it's not normally there's normally an elegance to a Venus in Capricorn. There's a worry about money, but there's a tendency to want nice things, not cheap things. So one would rather wait for the better things than others. But at the same time, there's a battle here. Whenever she wants to do something, someone's there saying, you can't, or you won't, you can't do this. So trying to find the person to marry, the person to fit in versus making your own choices, or even like she could take care of a guy really easily, but to surrender to someone, to trust the guy, would be difficult. And the guy would have a tendency to try and be controlling and try and tell her what she wants. So this is the struggle point. This is a deeply motivating factor. And that Capricorn Venus is how she takes things in. And as it goes in a little deeper and it hits the Sagittal IC, which then has to understand it. So she's always personally trying to understand this inhibition, this any feedback that's saying she's not good enough or good enough, and nobody says something, was it okay? She's trying to understand. And as she understands that, she learns to project up to meet the Jupiter up in her 11th house, to find friends, to change it. Okay, so you see the harshness, and usually the outer planets, to the moon, to Venus, to the inner planets, they're often abusive things growing up, or there's this factor that's there in your family and growing up. And you get to a point where I'm going to have to get my own money to get out of this. I'm going to have to do this to change this, or I'm going to be stuck here. You know, like that feeling can be there. It's a funny emotion. It's an emotional thing. It's not a mental thing. Her mind is smart, intelligent, everything, but to get the hugs, to get the feedback, to get the applause, it will probably divide itself into two ways. Out one with friends that really love her and like her, and at home where it's more difficult to get that same attention. Pluto's meditation is towards so what? You still have to do it. If you want it, you have to get it. So what if nobody if someone doesn't like it? That's their problem, not yours. But she tends to make it her problem and has to learn to understand that. And that's her catapult for her inner spiritual growth. Okay, now we look at the sun, the confidence. The sun's in Aquarius. It's not Leo. This is not the showy. This is the practical, reserved, the strategic. Daylight's increasing, so there's a wanting to be more independent, but the nighttime is greater. So I have to belong. I've got to be independent in context. I got to do something that other people will notice. There's the need to be part of something, to do things in context and to plan things. So this builds up this daylight increase and nighttime is greater, pushes into the projective air, but then becomes rational in the air and fixed. So there's a tendency to set up a fixed plan of what I have to do. My confidence comes from having a fixed plan. If I have the fixed plan, I'm confident, then I can express it. If I have things I know how to say. So this sun gets its confidence from knowing what one's doing, from being knowledgeable and being able to use the knowledge to perform with, to be creative with. So the air, the fixity, and there's a stubbornness. I know this. Don't tell me. You're not going to tell us what you don't know what you're talking about. I know what I'm talking about. You're not listening to me, but I know what I'm talking about. Why don't you know? It bothers me, but I know it. Why shouldn't you know it? I'll teach you. I'll show you. So it's in the fifth. So it's ruled by Saturn. Again, the Saturn in the 12th house. It's not getting the support so much from father, but there's a tendency I can't live up to this enough, but you still have to build up your plans and your strategies and do it anyways. Astrology is great for this. The Aquarian to the astrology. It's a natural take. And the ability to express it with the moon and Libra works really well. But the sun in the 5th house of performance, I want to play with it. I want to be creative with it. I don't want to write with it. I want to do things with it. I want to be known for this. I want to get attention. I want to show you what I know. So the 5th house is showing, the Aquarius is the knowing. Let me show you what I know. Oh, you don't know this. Let me show you. We can make this better. Wow. Really good incentive. So the